I'm Angela. I'm 34 years old. And last week, I watched my brother pass out face first into a tray of shrimp cocktail at our father's will reading. He thought he was drugging my glass, but my husband switched them, and no one, absolutely no one, saw it coming. Before I continue, let me know in the comments what part of the world you're watching from. Also, subscribe because another story drops tomorrow. My father, Harold LeClaire, was a ruthless businessman with a legacy as complicated as the family he left behind. He built his empire from the ground up, real estate, stocks, you name it. But with wealth came manipulation, secrets, and division, especially between me and my brother, Damien. Damien was the golden child. Even when he did everything wrong, he was always right in my parents' eyes. And I was the reminder of what Dad called unfulfilled potential. Never mind that I graduated magna cum laude and started my own business. Damien had charm. I had accountability. Guess which one gets celebrated at family dinners? Still, when Dad died of a sudden heart attack, I thought maybe we'd finally be on even ground. Death levels things. Or so I thought. The will reading was scheduled exactly 1 week after the funeral. It felt fast, but in the LeClaire household, money never sat idle. My husband Noah and I arrived at the law office early. Noah's a criminal defense attorney. Sharp, calm, and always 3 steps ahead. If I'm the fire, he's the flint and steel. We balance each other. Damien showed up 15 minutes late. He looked like he hadn't slept in a week. Dark circles, loose tie, reeking of expensive cologne sprayed over cheaper sins. He didn't greet me, just nodded once and poured himself a drink from the carafe of water on the mahogany side table. Then he poured another glass and handed it to me, smiling, almost too wide. "Peace offering," he said. "Let's bury the hatchet, sis." Noah glanced at me. I accepted the glass, but didn't drink. Not yet. Something in Damien's tone felt off. He never offered peace. He offered problems. And I'd learned to spot them coming. The lawyer, Mr. Halpern, entered with a thick file and a tight expression. We all sat at the round table, the tension between us thicker than the velvet drapes. Halpern cleared his throat. Per Harold LeClaire's final instructions, this will is to be read in full, with all primary heirs present. There were only 3 of us in the room. Me, Damien, and Noah. Technically not an heir, but my father had insisted on his presence as witness and support, which already told me Dad knew something was about to explode. The will started predictably. To his assistant of 20 years, Dad left a generous severance. To his favorite charities, a hefty chunk. And then came the meat. To my daughter, Angela, I leave the controlling shares of LeClaire Properties and full decision-making authority over all remaining assets. Damien choked on his drink. I didn't blink. Neither did Noah. To my son, Damien, I leave. Halpern paused. A trust fund to be distributed monthly, contingent upon clean drug screenings and employment verification. The silence in the room went nuclear. What the hell is this? Damien barked. He stood up so fast his chair slammed against the paneled wall. He's punishing me, even in death? I sat still, breathing, listening, watching, because I'd been waiting for this moment. Halpern slid over the signed and notarized documents. He made these changes 3 months ago, fully within his rights. Damien's jaw twitched. He didn't look at the papers. He looked at me. Then he looked at my glass. I noticed the shift, the calculation. That's when I knew. He had done something. Noah noticed too. While Halpern stepped out to collect more documentation, Noah leaned toward me. "Trade glasses with me," he whispered. I obeyed without question. We switched. 5 minutes later, Damien was face down on the table, breathing, mumbling, out cold. Halpern came back, saw the scene, and nearly dropped his files. "What happened?" Noah answered smoothly. "Seems like Damien's celebrating a little too early." I sat in silence, glass untouched. The paramedics arrived fast. Someone from the reception desk must have called them. They couldn't get a clear answer from Damien, who was now slurring nonsense. When they found the half-empty bottle of water he'd poured both our glasses from, They took it for testing. Later, we'd learn it contained a strong sedative, the kind that causes short-term amnesia and heavy sleep. Someone had tampered with it, and I had nearly been the one to drink it. But I didn't. Noah did. And he's built like stone. He pretended to sip, then poured the rest into a planter, the trap Damien set. He walked right into it himself. And the best part? The will included a clause. If either heir attempts to manipulate or harm the other during the probate period, their entire share is forfeit. Damien had drugged the wrong glass. And my father, God rest his ruthless soul, had given me every tool to finish what he started. And I would, because this was just the beginning. When the paramedics wheeled Damien out of the law office, he was barely conscious. His head lolled to one side, drool sliding down his chin. They didn't need to strap him down. Whatever he'd slipped into that drink was working overtime. I watched in silence. My heart should have been racing, but all I felt was stillness, the kind that comes right before a storm breaks. Noah leaned over and whispered, "We need to get that bottle tested independently." I nodded. He was already dialing a private lab before the door closed behind the stretcher. Mr. Halpern was pale. He shut the door after the medics left and turned to me slowly. "This complicates things," he said. "Not for me," I replied. "My father was clear. Any attempt to harm an heir voids their share." "But it must be proven," Halpern added. I met his eyes. "It will be." Noah's voice was low but firm on the phone. He gave the lab our location and asked them to expedite the results. He knew the right people. He always had. We left the law office in silence. I slid into the car, stared out the window. My brother had tried to drug me. At our father's will reading. For money. For control. He didn't just want the estate. He wanted to humiliate me, silence me, remove me from the board before I could even step into my new role. He failed. But the sickness of it lodged under my skin like a splinter. By the time we got home, the adrenaline hit me like a wave. I collapsed onto the couch, hands trembling. Noah sat beside me. "You okay?" I nodded, too fast. Then broke. "It's not just the money," I said through gritted teeth. He wanted me out of the way. Like I didn't exist. Like I was a glitch in his inheritance. Noah took my hand. "You were never a glitch, Angela. You were the contingency he didn't see coming." We stayed up all night, reviewing the will, calling contacts, digging through Damien's online activity. The next morning, Noah received a text from the lab. The substance in the bottle was identified, lorazepam, a potent sedative. Easily abused, easily misused. We had the proof. Now we needed a plan, because Damien would wake up, and when he did, he'd either remember everything or pretend he didn't. Either way, I knew him. He'd twist the story, cry victim, claim food poisoning or some ridiculous coincidence. And without witnesses, he'd lie through his teeth. That's when Noah pulled out his ace, the law firm's security footage. Every conference room was monitored, audio and video. He'd confirmed it on the way out the day before. "Call Halpern," he said. "Tell him to preserve the tape." Within an hour, I was back in Halpern and Associates' downtown office. He met me in the lobby, looking nervous. "Miss LeClaire, I've reviewed the security feed." "And?" He swallowed. "Your brother tampered with the bottle. We have him on camera, pouring something into the carafe from a small dropper, slipped it into his pocket when no one was looking." "Will you testify to that?" He hesitated. "Only if it comes to court, but I'll provide the footage." Good enough. Damien's spiral was documented, recorded, and chemically confirmed. When I left the office, my phone buzzed. "Unknown number." I answered. "Angela?" His voice was weak, hoarse. "Damien." Calling from a hospital bed. "You okay?" I asked, calmly. He coughed. "Wasn't what it looked like." "Oh, too much stress. Empty stomach. Bad mix." "Is that what they're calling attempted drugging now?" He went silent. "I don't know what you think you saw." "I don't think, Damien. I know. I have the lab results. The footage. The will clause. Another pause. Then, the venom returned. You think you've won? I didn't raise my voice. I didn't need to. I didn't win. You lost. You lost the moment you treated your sister like a target. He hung up. I stared at the screen for a long time, then forwarded everything to Halpern. Security video. Lab results. A brief legal note from Noah. Attempt to poison meets criteria of disinheritance clause. Within 48 hours, I received confirmation. Damien's inheritance had been revoked. The trust nullified. The clause executed. My brother had drugged his own future. And now, it was mine to rebuild. But this story wasn't just about an inheritance. It was about reckoning. And Damien's wasn't over yet. The fallout began quietly. No police, no lawsuits, just silence. And that scared me more than anything. Damien didn't lash out publicly. He didn't post angry rants or send drunken threats. He vanished, off the grid, the calm before a different kind of storm. Meanwhile, the legal wheels turned in my favor. Mr. Halpern filed the official disinheritance paperwork. The estate transitioned fully to my control. I received final word from the board of LeClaire Properties. I was now majority shareholder and acting CEO. The company I was once excluded from, spoken about like I'd never understand real strategy, was now mine. All of it. And not because I schemed, but because I survived. Noah celebrated with takeout and a bottle of champagne we never opened. I'll pop this when Damien does something stupid, he joked. Give it a week, I replied. But, deep down, I knew. Damien wasn't going to disappear quietly. He was just waiting for an opening. And I had to be ready. 3 days after the estate transfer, I got a call from Ms. Calhoun, Dad's former secretary. She'd worked with him for 20 years. I found something you need to see, she said. Come by the old office, alone. When I arrived, she was waiting at the front desk with a small manila envelope. She didn't say much, just handed it to me with shaking hands. Your father never trusted Damien, but he always hoped he'd change. What's in here? Proof he never did. I opened the envelope in the car. Inside, a copy of a withdrawal slip from 6 months ago. A photo of Damien outside one of Dad's smaller properties with a known loan shark. And a voice recording. I clicked play. Damien's voice, unmistakable. I'm telling you, once the old man croaks, I'll have enough to clear everything. The house, the club debt, all of it. A pause. Then laughter. Angela won't know what hit her. She thinks Dad's actually proud of her. He's just using her to clean things up first. I closed my eyes. It wasn't just about the money. Damien wanted revenge. For being overlooked. For not being trusted. For not winning. Noah reviewed the recording that night. This wasn't just greed. It was planned. Months in advance. He was right. Damien had been laying groundwork to take over even before Dad passed. But when Dad changed the will, Damien's plan collapsed. So he went to plan B. Drug me. Disqualify me. Claim I was unstable. And when that failed, he disappeared. Until he didn't. A week later, I received an invitation. Hand-delivered. No return address. A single sentence. Meet me where Dad taught us to fish. Bring no one. The lake. Our old summer spot. A 2-hour drive north. Secluded. No cell signal. Noah hated the idea. I don't like you going alone. I won't be. I showed him the hidden mic I planned to wear. And the second one I tucked into my necklace. I need to hear what he wants. I know what he wants, Noah growled. Yeah. But this time, I want it on tape. I drove up that Saturday morning. Damien was already there, leaning against a rusted truck by the dock. Same smirk. Same lies waiting behind his teeth. You came, he said. You invited me. He motioned to the edge of the dock. We sat, 2 broken siblings staring out over still water. I messed up, he said. No argument there. He chuckled, then turned serious. You won. Congrats. You always were the better one. I didn't answer. I just waited. I need a favor, he finally said. "There it is," I whispered. "I'm in trouble, Angela. Real trouble. The kind Dad used to clean up before it got out of hand." "Then I suggest you find a mop." His voice hardened. "They're going to hurt me." "They?" "The people I borrowed from. I made promises based on money I thought I'd have." He looked at me with real fear. "Angela, they don't care about will clauses or camera footage. They just want to be paid." I leaned back, let the silence stretch, then said, "You tried to drug me, Damien." His jaw clenched. I panicked. I wasn't thinking straight. "You were thinking perfectly. You just gambled and lost." He stood, anger now rising. "Look, I need 50 grand. That's it. You can afford that now." I stood too. "You need 50 grand to survive. I needed 10 years to get here, and all you ever did was try to take it from me." He stepped closer. Too close. Eyes flashing. Voice low. "If I go down, I won't go alone." I smiled. "You already did." I walked back to my car. "No rush. No fear." His voice followed me. "You'll regret this, Angela." I got in, turned the key, and whispered to myself, "No, you will." When I got back to the city, I sent the recording to Noah, both audio files, from the mic under my collar and the one sewn into my scarf, crystal clear. Every threat, every confession, every moment of desperation. Noah called within minutes. He just buried himself again. "I know, but what's your plan?" I didn't answer right away. Because I wasn't sure. Not yet. I wanted to protect myself. But part of me still couldn't believe my own brother had become this man, the one who tried to poison me, who leveraged our dead father's will to climb out of a hole he dug himself into, and who now begged for my money with threats. That night, I couldn't sleep. So I pulled out one of Dad's old ledgers, the kind he kept locked in the fireproof cabinet. I'd found it when clearing out his study. Inside. Dates. Amounts. Names. And next to Damien's name, a single phrase written in my father's sharp, mechanical handwriting. "No more handouts. Angela will see this through." He knew. He always knew. The next morning, Noah had already put the wheels in motion. "I sent the recording to a contact at the state bar," he said over breakfast, "just in case Damien tries to paint you into a corner legally." I nodded. He continued. "I also forwarded it to an investigator who owes me a favor." "For what?" "For what's next." 2 days later, I got a package. No return address. Inside, a USB drive, a burner phone, and a printed note. "You'll want to hear this." Noah plugged in the USB first. Video files. Surveillance footage. Damien. Meeting with men in a dark restaurant booth. Exchanging envelopes. Leaning close. Talking fast. One of the men was a known enforcer connected to an underground gambling ring. Another? Nee. A disgraced former banker now on parole. Noah narrowed his eyes. "He's in deep. Way deeper than we thought." I powered on the burner phone. It was already connected to a voicemail. Damien's voice again, this time, panicked. "He's threatening to come after Angela. Says if I don't pay, he'll use her to send a message. I never meant for it to get this bad." The call was time-stamped 2 nights before our dock meeting, so he knew. And he didn't warn me. He invited me to that dock with threats already swirling around us. No protection, no remorse, just a desperate plan to shift the danger from himself to me. I stared at the phone, at the files, then at Noah. I'm done waiting for him to strike. What are you thinking? It's time I played offense. That afternoon, I visited Mr. Halpern again. Told him I needed full control of every LeClaire Properties asset Damien had ever touched. Any property. Any shell corporation. Any offshore account my father might have used to protect the estate. Halpern hesitated. "Are you sure you want to dig that deep? You might not like what you find." I didn't blink. "I already don't like what I found." He agreed to run the audit. Meanwhile, Noah called in a few markers of his own. Private security for our home. Surveillance on our building. A restraining order filed, preemptively, in case Damien showed up uninvited. By Friday, the investigator returned with a dossier. Damien had used one of the LeClaire satellite offices to funnel fake investments into a crypto scam. Small investors. Overpromised returns. And then, nothing. Losses totaling over $600,000. All before Dad's death. And now the SEC was involved. Noah looked up from the report. This isn't just family drama anymore. This is federal. I nodded slowly. This is how it ends, isn't it? He touched my hand. This is how it begins. I made one more call that night. To the investor who'd filed the first complaint. A woman named Elise Park. She was polite, tired, angry. When I introduced myself, there was silence. Then she said, "I thought you were part of it." "I'm not. I've been fighting him too." We spoke for 20 minutes. By the end of the call, I had her trust. And she had my commitment. Whatever Damien had promised her, I would make sure he never touched another dollar again. Because Damien didn't just try to ruin me. He ruined lives, stole trust, and left a mess I could no longer ignore. My name was on the company now, and I was going to clean house, starting with him. The boardroom was silent as I laid out the documents. 4 investors, 2 lawyers, and the new interim CFO, a woman named Shireen I had personally vetted. "Before we continue," I said, standing at the head of the table, "I want to make something clear. LeClaire Properties is under new leadership, and with that comes new accountability." I slid the dossiers forward, each one marked confidential. Damien LeClaire transactions. For the next hour, I walked them through everything. The fake portfolios, the investor losses, the off-book properties tied to unlicensed rentals, the internal emails he'd sent using Dad's credentials, the audio recording from the dock, and the voicemail from the burner phone. By the time I finished, no one was looking at me. They were staring at the pages, at the numbers, the evidence. Finally, one of the board members spoke. A gray-haired man who'd once called Damien a charming bulldozer. He said quietly, "Press charges." The vote was unanimous. We weren't just cutting him out, we were turning him in. I handed the full package to Noah, who took it directly to the state attorney's office. Noah, being Noah, had already prepped a timeline, a witness list, and a press-safe summary. "Once the feds pick this up," he told me that night, "Damien will have no place left to hide." He was right. But Damien wasn't done running. The day after the report was filed, I received a text from an unknown number. "I know you think you've won, but you have no idea what you've started." I showed it to Noah. He didn't even flinch. Let him threaten. Every step he takes just builds our case. But I wasn't interested in revenge. I wanted repair. For the investors. For the company. For myself. So I called Elise again. "I'm forwarding your complaint to our internal restitution fund," I said. "It's not full recovery yet, but it's a start." She was quiet for a moment. Then she whispered, "Thank you." No one else even called me back. I called 5 more investors after that, each with a different story. Same result. Betrayed by my brother, and now holding me responsible by proximity. But I didn't shy away. I owned it. Because Dad left me the company. And I wasn't going to let Damien be its legacy. Noah and I stayed up most nights that week. Cross-referencing accounts. Flagging gaps. Listing potential witnesses. That Friday, I got another message. This one was worse. A photo. My car. Parked outside our building. Smeared with red paint. Thief. No signature. No face. Just a message. I stared at the screen. My hands didn't shake. Not this time. "Security footage?" I asked. Noah was already on the phone. Within the hour, we had the feed. Damien. Hooded. Quick. But Unmistakable. We filed a police report, sent it to the DA. It wasn't just vandalism. It was retaliation, intimidation, and it was documented. 2 days later, a warrant was issued. 3 charges: attempted poisoning, financial fraud, harassment, and intimidation. But Damien had vanished. No known address, no active phone, no transactions, until we got the call. A customs officer flagged his passport at the Canadian border, trying to cross on foot with a fake ID and $8,000 in cash. Noah drove me to the station that night. I watched through the two-way mirror as Damien sat in an interrogation room. He looked smaller, thinner, not like the brother I grew up with. More like a man who'd been consumed by his own fire. An officer came in, offered him water. He didn't touch it. Maybe he'd learned something. Too late. The officer turned to me and asked, "Would you like to press charges personally?" I didn't answer immediately, because part of me still wanted to look away, to forget, to go back to before any of this began. But I couldn't, because he never gave me that choice. So I said, "Yes, I'm ready," and I walked away from the mirror, from Damien, from everything he tried to drag me down with, not as a victim, but as a survivor, and more importantly, as the one who finally said no. Damien's arrest hit the news within 24 hours. Every outlet ran a variation of the same headline: heir to LeClaire empire, arrested in poison plot and investor scam. I didn't speak to the media. Noah handled the press inquiries with carefully worded statements. The company is cooperating fully with authorities. The current leadership condemns any prior misconduct. Angela LeClaire is committed to full restitution and ethical transparency. But behind closed doors, it didn't feel that clean. Because no matter how calm I looked on the outside, I was carrying a weight that didn't have a headline. This wasn't just about press releases and courtroom appearances. This was about betrayal, a family legacy I never asked for, and a brother who became a stranger right in front of me. The trial date was set for 8 weeks later. In the meantime, Damien was denied bail, flight risk, obstruction of justice, 2 prior sealed warnings from financial authorities. Apparently, Dad had covered up more than I realized. Some sins ran deeper than any ledger. The board at LeClaire Properties reorganized around me. Shireen was officially appointed CFO. I restructured investor relations, dissolved 3 of Damien's shell accounts, set aside $300,000 for verified victims of his scams. And I didn't stop there. We hosted a town hall for every client, vendor, and employee connected to the company. I stood in front of hundreds of people. No script, no PR team, just the truth. My name is Angela LeClaire. I'm the new CEO, and the past few months have exposed a rot that's been quietly eating away at this company's foundation. I won't pretend to undo the harm overnight, but I promise this: it ends now, with me. The applause was quiet at first. Then it grew. And I didn't realize I'd been holding my breath until it filled the room. That night, Noah and I sat on the balcony with 2 glasses of wine. The bottle of champagne still sat unopened in the fridge. "When will we pop it?" I asked. He shrugged. "When you stop waking up thinking about your brother." I nodded. Because even in silence, Damien lingered. Not just the damage he did, but what he represented. All the years I let myself be small to keep the peace. All the family dinners where I swallowed my pride to avoid confrontation. All the times I looked the other way. No more. 2 weeks before the trial, I received a letter. Handwritten, from Damien. I didn't recognize the handwriting at first. It was neater, almost careful. "Angela, I know you don't owe me anything, but I'm writing this because I don't know who else to write to. I messed up. Badly. I was angry, scared. I thought Dad left me nothing, and I let that fear turn into something toxic. But he didn't leave me nothing. He left me a chance, you. And I ruined that too. If you never want to speak to me again, I understand. I deserve that. But if you ever read this, know that I'm sorry. Not just for what I did, but for who I became. Damien." I stared at the letter for a long time, then folded it back into the envelope and tucked it into a drawer. Because forgiveness isn't something you give away like spare change. It's something you choose when you're ready. And I wasn't. Not yet. The trial was swift. With the footage, the financial records, and the audio, the jury didn't need long. Guilty. On all counts. Sentencing came 2 weeks later. 6 years. With parole review at 3, he didn't look at me once in court. But as they led him away, he glanced over his shoulder. And for the first time since we were children, I saw fear in his eyes that wasn't laced with arrogance. Just plain human regret. Outside the courtroom, a reporter shoved a mic in my face. "Any final words about your brother?" I paused, then said, "I hope he learned something in there. Because out here, I did." I walked away before they could ask what. Because the lesson wasn't for them. It was for me. And maybe for you. Never hand your silence to someone who would poison your voice. Never trade your peace for a false version of family. And never wait for someone to protect your future when you've had the power to do it all along. So now I ask you, have you ever had to stand up to someone you loved? Drop your experience in the comments. I want to hear your story. And if this one moved you, subscribe, because another powerful story drops tomorrow. Until then, remember, survival is just the beginning. What you do with your voice after? Whoosh. That's the real story.